Well, good luck, everyone. You guys are awesome. I'm so deeply appreciative that you're doing this. And we're just going to share and see what they think, right? So I really appreciate you all being here.
Thanks to you too for the time, the countless hours you've put into making this happen.
Yeah.
Wow, we'll see if it has wings. And Ellen, you want all of our cameras off right as you start, right?
Yeah, sure. That's fine. Yeah. Yeah. All right, let's get started. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. We're excited to host today's webinar, Advancing Inclusive Mentoring, a mentor training program created for the CSU. Today's webinar is part of the CSU HSI STEM Research Policy and Practice Dissemination Series, which is funded through the U.S. Department of Education. The Center for Evaluation and Educational Effectiveness, or C, received this grant as part of a partnership that involves 10 California State University campuses working together to learn how to best support the success of first-generation, low-income, and/or Hispanic students in STEM at Hispanic Serving Institutions, or HSIs. Next slide. My name is Alan Tang, and I am the Associate Director of C and a faculty member in the Department of Educational Leadership at CSU Long Beach. If anyone has any questions regarding this collaborative project or regarding today's webinar, please send your questions and comments to the email address shown here. Next slide. Thank you. Before we get started, I would like to point out a few features on Zoom. If you hover over your mouse over your screen, you will see the chat function. I will be monitoring the chat activity throughout the webinar. You can use this feature to alert me of any audio or visual issues. We will hold a Q&A session towards the end of the webinar, at which point you will be able to pose questions to the presenters. And lastly, this webinar is being recorded and will be closed captioned and uploaded to our website, shown here. Everyone who registered for this webinar will receive an email with information on how to access the recording once it is available. And now I would like to introduce and welcome our panelist, Dr. Kelly Young. Dr. Kelly Young is a professor and mentor of undergraduate researchers in the Department of Biological Sciences at California State University, Long Beach. She is also the director of faculty development in our College of Natural Sciences and Mathematics, and lead of the Advancing Inclusive Mentoring Program. Dr. Young, please take it away.
Thank you so much, Dr. King. I really appreciate that. And thank you for hosting this webinar. So hello, everyone. Good morning. I'm Kelly Young, and I'm so pleased that you're all here, and I'm really excited to share our work on our Research Mentor Training Program as part of the larger Building Infrastructure Leading to Diversity, or BUILD initiative, funded by the National Institutes of Health here at Cal State Long Beach. Before we get started, our team would like to acknowledge and pay our respects to the Tongva peoples, who are the traditional caretakers of the land where Cal State Long Beach now exists. We'd also like to acknowledge our funding and the faculty, staff members, and students at Cal State Long Beach who together made this program happen. So today, what I'd like to do is take a little bit of time up front to share our rationale for developing the Advanced and Inclusive Mentoring Program. I'll give an overview of the content and structure, in addition to providing some of the data from our pilot sessions. Then I'm going to turn it over to our panelists, Dr. Malcolm Finney, Director of the CSULB Faculty Center, and our inaugural leader of the facilitated discussions, and 2 STEM professors who have completed the program, Dr. Carissa Miller and Dr. Alex Klotz. Then we'll have some time for some audience Q&A at the end. But first, let's talk about how the AIM program came to be. And that really starts with the vast literature on mentoring of undergraduate students, where recent and, well, really not so recent studies also have demonstrated the impact of positive and inclusive mentoring on a variety of metrics of student success and psychosocial development. In short, we know that mentoring of undergraduates matters. Of course, within academia, mentoring of students in a professional discipline is often expected, even required of faculty members. However, what mentoring actually is, what is expected of a mentor in a mentee-mentor relationship, and key practices for both positive and inclusive mentoring are not consistently defined, they're not usually role modeled, and they're not always demonstrated. To account for this, mentor training programs have been created and used across many institutions with demonstrable success. However, what we found at Cal State Long Beach was that not all of these programs are really a fit. While most of these programs had been created for graduate students or postdoctoral fellows, we wanted a program for our faculty members, faculty who had experienced mentoring. We didn't need a mentoring 101. Instead, what we wanted to do was to create a space to share experiences and best practices. We also wanted a program that could touch on issues that are so important to our large, urban, primarily undergraduate, Hispanic serving institution, and Asian American, Native American, and Pacific Islander serving institution. So we decided to create our own program by blending the topics in those national programs and using the mentoring literature with the needs of our students and our faculty members. And as part of this, we sought stories around mentoring from our students, staff, and faculty members. And these stories really informed the topics of our program, which we call Advancing Inclusive Mentoring, or AIM. Now, the AIM program is a hybrid program with the online component comprised of videos, handouts, and quizzes. This is designed for faculty members who mentor students engaged in experiential learning or high impact practices like undergraduate research, internships, or service learning. And we really wanted to make this regardless of the discipline, although it was originally created for our STEM mentors of undergraduate research. One thing that was really important to us was to ground all of the AIM episodes in culturally aware mentoring practices. And here, I really drew particularly from the work of Dr. Angela Byers-Winston, Dr. Rick McGee, and Dr. Chris Fund. The full AIM program consists of 35 episodes across 6 modules, including communicating with your mentee, inclusive mentoring, cultivating mentee growth and development, mentee health and well-being, mentee-centered mentoring, and a mentoring toolbox. Each episode is between 5 and 12 minutes, and really this brings the total module time commitment to about 45 to 60 minutes, which includes the short required review quizzes at the end. So we're looking at an online component time commitment of about 6 hours. Now, each of our episodes features a faculty member host from around our campus, so cross-disciplinary. And they also include a mentoring scenario based on the de-identified student, faculty, and staff stories. These are being portrayed by actors to provide some engaging glimpses into good, well, and not so good mentoring practices that give us a chance to discuss and reflect later. So I'm going to share with you one of, just actually a part of a clip of one of these stories. And this is us, again, a real student story. 2 students talking about a text one of them received from a mentor that just said noted.
See, he's always writing these one-word vague answers.
I know. He's so hard to read.
You think he's mad at me? He seems mad.
Maybe. I mean, one-word texts are never good. Did you do something wrong?
I thought I was doing a great job, but now, I don't know. Oh, he's writing again. He wrote, excellent work, by the way. Jeez.
So he just got interrupted or something.
I just wish you knew how much his text stressed me out.
I know, right?
See,
So that was part of our virtual communication episode. But what I'd like to do for this group is to give you a little bit of a better sense of what's covered in each module. So I've got the lists from every episode. We actually have more episodes in communication because that's what our students said when we surveyed them. The majority of problems were coming from communication issues. So we've got in our communication module, in addition to the virtual mentoring, things like power differential, avoiding favoritism, and how to deliver both positive and constructive criticism. In module 2, this is our inclusive mentoring, we cover privilege, unconscious bias, and ways to manage microaggressions, all within the realm of mentoring. In mentee growth and development, the focus turns to ways to support mentees as they strive for their career goals and ways to develop a professional identity. For this group, you'll know this as a STEM identity, but again, we really were striving to make this useful to mentors across campus because every discipline has mentors. So how do you develop that professional identity? How do you promote effective time management for your mentees, doing this in a positive way? And how do you balance mentee independence with guidance? In module 4, we cover mentee health and well-being. We talk about things like establishing trust, how to have those challenging conversations with a mentee. And we paired up with a mental health first aid leader on our campus to share about recognizing signs of depression and anxiety in our mentees. In module 5, we talk about how we can meet our mentees where they are for mentee-centered mentoring. And we cover managing expectations of mentee and mentor. We talk about how to check in to make sure mentees really understand what we think they understand, and how to onboard mentees to your program inclusively. We also talk about responsibilities of a mentor after our mentees graduate. Finally, in module 6, we cover multiple aspects of mentoring practice, including using frames of mentoring, how to assess your mentees, and how to assess your own mentoring. We bust some common mentoring myths, and one of my favorites, we talk about how to bring the joy, right? How to continue and sustain your mentoring practice over the years. Now, the way that the program is structured is that participants interact with the materials on their own schedule. So those episodes, the videos, the handouts, and the review quizzes. And then following this asynchronous learning, participants meet for a synchronous discussion of the material to really reflect on those real life mentoring scenarios. They discuss their experiences at being a mentor and often their experiences being a mentee. And they share how they may refine their mentoring to be more mindful of best practices. And I have to say that these discussions were really key for us. On our campus, we refer to this as a community. And it has proven to be this, a community of mentors coming together to share experiences, expertise, and to support each other through learning and talking about mentoring together. Now, at this point, we have analyzed data from our 6 pilot sessions. And through the pilots, we've learned a lot. We've actually refined the program in a number of ways. We've determined empirically that the best program length was 1 week per module. So time commitment, 6 weeks. You're watching that about 1 hour of videos on your own, and then you come together for a 1 hour discussion. So it's like a book club format, but with mentoring and videos. The participants in our pilots were from 7 different colleges at CSULB, with the largest percentage coming from our natural science and mathematics, engineering, health and human services, and College of Liberal Arts. Now, because I really want to transition over to our panelists, I'm going to share just a small snippet of data here. But if you're like me and you want to talk more about these findings, please let me know. I'm happy to share more of our data, and we'll have more after this semester as well. So just this little snippet, these findings were all significant, but participants reported that their confidence in communicating with mentees was increased. They found the material provided in the program that was effective. They thought the videos were engaging. They would recommend the program to their colleagues. But most importantly to me was that they overwhelmingly said that they would make a change to their mentoring practice as a result of the program. And the reason this was so important to me, because among our participants, we had from anywhere from first semester faculty members all the way up to faculty members who had been here 25, 30 years. And we still had this strong response that they would make a change. In fact, I had a number of full professors come up to me and say, wow, I didn't realize all these years that maybe I need to be more mindful about this or that. And I'm really glad that we reflected on this in the program. And I think that one key aspect of the program really comes, we have a lot of qualitative data, not just this one quote, but I wanted to share this one quote where this participant said that, well, we know that power differential exists, but we don't often think about the effects that it has on students. And I think this really is key to understand what our program is about. We're not sharing completely novel and wild ideas here. We know power differential exists. We know that we should actively listen or deliver criticism constructively. But sometimes we don't do it in the heat of the moment. Maybe we're stressed, maybe the mentee's stressed, maybe we've got a pressing deadline. And so our program is really about sharing those best practices, putting them out there, and then discussing them. How mindful are we being? And how can we be more mindful as we move forward? And honestly, it's about building a community of practice so that our mentors know that they can reach out across campus and talk to other mentors who are invested in positive and inclusive mentoring. So overall, our results suggest that the AIM program with facilitated discussion can provide a useful mentor training experience. It's running right now. We've got 19 college-specific sessions happening in this academic year, in addition to 2 all-campus sessions offered through the Faculty Center with our director, Dr. Malcolm Finney. And I'd like to also add that we do have a self-paced version of AIM. It's up, it's running, it's at our CSU Chancellor's Canvas page. And at the end of our panel, I'll put some links on how to enroll. Now that's just the video content and the quizzes. I strongly recommend adding in discussion. Honestly, that's where the magic happens. I think it's really key to create that community of practice. And to make this more easily adoptable, we've created a leader's manual for these facilitated discussions. The manual has all the prompts, all the activities, like leader notes this, leader, talks about this. Here's an activity for if you're doing this virtually. Here's an activity for face-to-face. It's all in there. This is free of charge, by the way, the whole program to any campus. And if you are interested, my email's here, and that will also, we can send that out as a link too if you're interested. But again, my main thing is I really would like to turn this over to our panelists and have this discussion, because I think it's important to hear from participants who've been through this program, and then of course our inaugural leader, Dr. Malcolm Finney, who is head of our Faculty Center. He's now led 7 sessions of the AIM program for faculty and staff members on campus. He's a professor of linguistics. He's been a ton of things on campus. He's a leader across our campus. So Malcolm, I'm going to stop sharing the screen so we can get you on camera here. And I'd like to just kind of focus on some of the things that you have done in you've done so much in the faculty center. And what I'd like to do is maybe share with our audience how the AIM program really differs from the other programs within the faculty center that you sponsor and run each year. And how is AIM different?
So thanks, Kelly. And I think that's a great question. But before I talk about how it's different, maybe I should also mention briefly how it fits into the vision of the Faculty Center, because the Faculty Center focuses on equitable and inclusive practices, also knowing who our students are, being mindful of our students as well. We have many programs at the Faculty Center that acquaint faculty with best practices in equitable, accessible, and inclusive teaching in an effort to promote student success for all students, regardless of their backgrounds, their affiliations, and their levels of ability or preparedness. So the mentoring program fits into this because we use these best practices, but in this case, it's in mentoring our diverse students. So the AIM program differs from other programming in several ways. First, it introduces faculty and also staff, because now we have staff taking the program. So staff who are serving students in an advisory capacity to best mentoring practices in working and interacting with students of diverse backgrounds to help them succeed, and also to help them prepare for their future careers. Secondly, we have multiple sessions of the program. As Kelly mentioned, we have 6 modules, so we meet 6 times, and these sessions are engaging activities and discussions of the information provided in the videos. And because these topics are overlapping, and we have discussions over a period of time, we not only build a community of faculty, but I think studies also suggest that when you have sessions that are offered multiple times, that is the best way to help trigger behavior change. So having the group meet 6 times to discuss different but overlapping information provided, that helps with behavior change. Also, the facilitated discussions, to me, is one of the most important aspects of this program, because it provides opportunities for the participants to reflect on mentoring practices, not only as mentors now, but also when they were mentees. So we have participants share information based on the videos, based on their recollections of what transpired when they were mentees, and also what transpires now as mentors. So the format creates an environment for faculty to share, and in the process reflect on their mentoring practices using information not only from the videos, but also from discussion. So it's truly interactive. And then finally, I think it's one of the unique things about this program, as Kelly mentioned, is the sustainability of the program. Because now we have faculty who participated in the early iterations of the programs now go through facilitator development so that they become facilitators, and now they implement these programs in different units on campus, like in different colleges, as Kelly mentioned, and we're having discussions with the Graduate Center to see if we could expand the program there. On a personal level, it's a great program. I myself, as the facilitator, I learn something new every time we have these facilitated discussions, because faculty share strategies, faculty share experiences, and those strategies and experiences provide me with concrete examples when we meet with new faculty. So those are some of the ways in which this program is unique.
That's great. And I love how you share that you learn something new every time. And I do, every time you talk to more people and they bring something up, you just continue to learn. Now, one other thing I wanted to touch on was this program was originally created for STEM faculty members, but we pivoted to be inclusive of faculty members regardless of discipline. And also, as you said, staff members, because many staff members mentor as well. So do you see that this program resonates with participants who mentor students inside and outside of STEM?
I truly do. The program certainly helps STEM faculty with research labs and mentors working in labs. So I think that being instituted for STEM faculty, that was a great idea. But then the program, I believe, is broad-based, and it encompasses preparing our students for future researchers. It goes way beyond that. The program introduces our faculty and staff participants to best mentoring practices for faculty and staff working with students across all disciplines. And the information that's provided and discussed are applicable to students in several different contexts, not only in research labs, but also students in our classes, how to interact with students during office hours, if you're supervising a thesis or guided research by students, or you have student assistants working for you, or you're in an advisory capacity advising students. The program provides information on understanding multiple factors that impact students' readiness, that impact students' preparation, students' state of mind, for example, students' wellness and mental health issues. Also, students of varying backgrounds. So when we say diversity, it's not just ethnic and racial diversity, but also diversity in terms of being a first-generation student, a low-income student, or even differently abled students. So the program provides guidelines for faculty and staff in helping students of all backgrounds to help them receive the best quality education that our campus has to offer. And then secondly, the program addresses systemic issues that may disadvantage students. I think Kelly mentioned that. So things like unconscious bias, white privilege, microaggression, stereotype threats. The program helps faculty and staff infuse equitable and inclusive practices in all interactions with our students.
That's great. That, of course, that is our goal, right? I think that's really
Yeah.
how we grounded the program in, because I think that's just part of the very fabric of who we are at Cal State Long Beach. This is really important to us.
Yeah, sure. And this is important not only for STEM faculty, but for all faculty and staff interacting with students.
Right, because we all mentor.
Yes, exactly.
We can be, we should be. I guess along those lines too, something that I've heard is, well, mentor training really should just be for trainees, maybe, or just brand new junior faculty. But as you know and have experienced, we've had faculty members across their career arc. And do you think that this program is useful for faculty members who are, early mid-career and then who have many years of experience? Do you find that people get something out of it, regardless of their, where they are?
Yeah, I believe so. In fact, the diversity that we have in the faculty in terms of experience, in terms of the length of time they've been faculty, I think that helps the interaction, because we have experienced faculty, we have faculty who are new on campus, who are beginning to mentor students in an official capacity. So, well, one of the things I want to point out, especially for faculty who have many years of experience mentoring students, I'll just draw an analogy. Most of us have taught classes for several years, maybe decades, but we still find ways to improve our classes, our syllabi, assessment protocols, and so on. Regardless of the number of years we've spent in teaching, we're always modifying, we're always finding ways to improve what we do. And the same applies to mentoring for faculty who've done it for several years. And the facilitated discussions that we have, they provide helpful information that early and mid-career faculty could benefit from when they're shared by faculty who have had several years of experience. Also, some of the newer faculty are fresh from college and they vividly recall some of the mentoring practices of their mentors, and sharing that information provides opportunities for faculty to reflect not only on what best mentoring practices are, but sometimes some of the experiences that are shared can be used maybe to create a document on mentoring practices to avoid, because some of our newer faculty, the information they share seems to suggest that maybe their mentors could have done things differently. Something else I want to point out regarding the diversity of faculty in terms of longevity on campus, I believe the program is also beneficial to faculty of all different backgrounds, because some may assume that the program is best considered a white ally training, because it addresses factors like white privilege, microaggressions, implicit bias that minoritized faculty may be fully aware of and may have likely been affected by. But the program is extremely important and impactful for members of all backgrounds, including historically minoritized faculty or underrepresented groups. If time permits, I could maybe mention a few ways in which the program is beneficial to everyone. First, the program is designed to help develop a community of like-minded faculty on campus. And as a community, we would want every faculty of different backgrounds to be a part of that community in developing best practices in working with our students or helping with student success. Secondly, minoritized faculty may experience bias, imposter syndrome, stereotype threats, and other things, that may make them overly critical of themselves. So sometimes in going through this program, minoritized faculty learn something about themselves and also about the society and the community. Next, minoritized faculty are sometimes considered to be a homogeneous group, which is false. And some of the advice or best practices that are recommended in the videos should be helpful to minoritized faculty as well, who work with minoritized students of different backgrounds. And then also when we talk about equitable and inclusive practices, this goes beyond mentoring students of different ethnic and racial backgrounds. As the videos and as Kelly mentioned, it involves inclusivity for in our interactions with or supervision of underprivileged and underserved students, such as low-income students, first-gen students, or even mature or non-traditional students, LGBTQ students, and also students, female students who work in STEM. The program also goes beyond some of those systemic biases that are evident in our society, but also addresses practical things like favoritism, professionalism, communication in a professional way in different contexts, power differentials between faculty and mentor, and how that may affect how mentees respond to faculty's requests, mentees' health and well-being, mentees' levels of preparedness, and I could just go on and on about that. And then finally, I just want to point out that the program also has a module that provides guidelines for faculty to guide mentees, and for faculty to provide a document that could be used to articulate responsibilities for mentees of different backgrounds to make sure that there is no appearance of favoritism. The module also provides information for mentors to use to evaluate not only mentees' effectiveness, but also their own effectiveness as mentors. And in that process, faculty who are going up for review can document some of the ways in which their participation in the program or being a mentor does address best practices, and they could have documentation of the progress that the students have made.
That's fantastic. I'm so glad you brought up the mentor-mentee compact too, because that's a key piece, a tangible outcome of the program that the mentors can create. And one thing to note about that, along with your talk of, we're really reaching out to everybody, is that we are creating a shareable database of mentor-mentee compacts from within our campus. And that really resonates with the faculty when you can not just share examples from other institutions around the globe, really around the nation, around the globe, but hey, here are some mentor-mentee compacts from my own institution or in my own discipline or field. So I appreciate you bringing that up.
Sure.
Well, Malcolm, I'd love it if you could stay on and pop in to join the next panelist, but I would like to bring on our two professors who were participants in the program. So Dr. Carissa Miller, an assistant professor in psychology, Dr. Alex Klotz, an assistant professor in physics, both completed the program. They are both fabulous mentors. They have incredible research laboratories. They did not need mentoring 101, But they have both really communicated that this program was effective for them. So I would like to turn it over to you, Krissa and Alex, and if you can just share with us how, first of all, let's just get this, how do you include CSULB students in your research programs? Let's start there, and then we can kind of talk about the program itself. So how do you include students in your particular research?
Well, I have a research lab that have students that do experiments both at the graduate level for their theses and the undergraduate level for their own enrichment. So typically graduate students are expected to learn how to do experiments, carry out the research, analyze the data, discuss with me what it means, and then we try to get it published or expand on it. Undergraduates I have are sort of don't have the same expected level of independence. I have more of a hands-on approach with them, but generally experiments, analysis, iteration.
Yeah, my lab is pretty similar. I involve students in nearly every aspect of my research. So we're currently collecting data for a study now, and my students are really running that study. They're facilitating the recruitment with the participants, cleaning the data, making sure everything's organized. And then we have another project that we're going to be beginning in the spring, and they're helping me with the IRB application, lit reviews, picking out measures. So they're really kind of in the trenches of every aspect of the research.
That's great. Thank you. Now let's turn it to the AIM program. So what was your motivation for just because you both volunteered for this as a pilot. So what was your motivation to really be part of our AIM program? I'm
an first generation college student, and I really attribute a lot of my trajectory, my career trajectory to really great mentorship. So this is something that I feel strongly about and have just wanted to, bulk up my skills and learn as much as I can. So this program seemed to really appeal to me just for its approach to working with underrepresented students specifically and taking that student-centered approach. So it just seemed, it was just a really appealing program for me.
I joined the campus in late 2019, and my first students joined my group in early 2020. And I suddenly found myself responsible for all these graduate students, and my only sort of guideline of how to manage them was to not do what my supervisor did, who I do not think was the best mentor. Good scientist, but that's not everything. So when I saw the opportunity for some guidance on how to actually be a good mentor, I jumped at it.
I guess that kind of begs the question, did either of you receive mentor training at your previous institutions as when you were trainees?
Not formally. In graduate school, they basically put you in front of an undergraduate lab and say you're the TA now. There were a few pedagogy programs that I was able to take part in, but they were mostly like how to sort of sketch out learning objectives, stuff like that. Nothing too much about one-on-one mentorship. So I mostly learned from experience with junior students that were put under my guidance, but nothing formal.
And if I may chime in here, I think the program does resonate with a lot of new faculty, incoming faculty, because an increasing number of them are from research-based universities. So they come in prepared to do research, but not necessarily prepared to mentor the diverse students that we have. And a lot of them welcome the opportunity to learn more about doing so, to make sure that they're able to reach out and help. So they want to help, but some of them aren't quite sure how best to help. So they gravitate toward taking the program.
Yeah, I had a very similar experience. No formal training. I came straight from an R1 university that didn't really seem to provide the graduate students with much of any information about how to work with students. So it was really just, again, from my own experience and things that I felt were important, but not anything formal, no.
I think that's the case. That so even when we do get training for pedagogical techniques, it's not the same as mentoring an independent research student or independent internship student. This experiential learning is different. It's a different kind of teaching, a different kind of interaction. So, all right, with the AIM program, did you change any part of your mentoring practice as a result of AIM? And along with that, maybe did you change it before? Are you still using this? Can you describe a little bit about how AIM maybe has impacted your mentoring?
Yeah, I can honestly say that I've participated in a few different mentoring programs, and this is the one that really stuck with me, truly. I think that the information, as you brought up earlier, Kelly, about power differentials has been something that I've been keeping in my mind as I move forward with my students. So there are a number of techniques that, we went over that I've incorporated that I still do. So doing those comprehension check-ins, making sure I balance positive and negative feedback, and just overall taking a sort of student-centered approach. I think it was really important for me to see those reenactments. I think those videos were really particularly impactful because it reminded me of, even though I try really hard to not have too much of a sort of hierarchy in my lab and try to be approachable to my students, just little things like that digital communication, for instance, I'm not always aware of. So I've really taken that approach moving forward and trying to remember, where students are coming from. And some of them may not know that there's funding for conferences, for instance, and all of this information came from these videos. So even though I'd heard this stuff a lot before, I think seeing it in that format really took me into, what it's like to be a student. It really reminded me, and I've carried that forward as much as I can.
Yeah, I also want to echo that the videos were really helpful, going through situations and then thinking, wait, is that me? So things like, responding to students' data with an emoji, or, being aware of power differentials when I say, so nobody has to do this, but I think that one of the biggest issues that I was having was sort of a lack of mutual understanding of what the expectations were between students and myself. So basically after the program finished, I spent some time writing up a mentor-mentee compact, which was one of the modules, and includes not just what I expect of the students, but also what the students can expect from me. And it's only been a few months and haven't been that many new students, but I think it's been helpful going forward.
That's great. And sorry, go ahead. It sounds like maybe some of these things might have also infiltrated how you interact with classroom students. Has it changed your interaction with classroom students as well?
At this point, not so much. I do try to be aware of sort of differences in power differentials and being clear with my communication and professional about the things I say, but there's been less of an opportunity for the one-on-one mentorship in the classroom at this point.
Yeah, Alex, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Malcolm.
I was going to say, both of you mentioned something that made me recall that one of the things that faculty are also appreciative of in the sessions is that it provides guidelines not only on what the mentee's responsibilities are, but to remind faculty mentors that we also have responsibilities. So we have to set guidelines for ourselves that we share with our students. So we have to model responsible behavior so that mentees don't believe that there's a double standard.
Absolutely, Malcolm. Something that I've carried into the classroom is, it's that digital communication aspect too. So, expecting that I'm going to receive respectful emails from my students and then not responding with one-word answers, right? Or actually taking into account what they're going to take from my message. So yeah, that definitely is translated to the classroom.
That's great. Thank you. So what would you guys say would be the most important aspect about the AIM program or about your being an AIM mentor on campus?
For me, I think just again, it was the format of the videos and the reenactments. I think that just was a really nice way of conveying the information that I haven't seen before. So I really, really enjoyed that. And then being able to discuss with other faculty, like their experiences. And, you know, it's nice to hear somebody have the same kind of insights or at least share some of the same struggles that you've shared. So I think having that community too and that discussion was really helpful and useful.
I think, yeah, having all the material as a reference to go back to when I'm in a situation with my students, like I can't Google like how to encourage students when experiment doesn't work or whatever, but I have all this material about how to be an inclusive mentor, and I find that's helpful, as well as what Carissa was saying about having other people in similar situations, just thinking back on those discussions and having people available.
That's great, thank you. And I want to leave time for some audience Q&A, but first, one thing that I've noticed as a biologist working on proposals is now I'm starting to see funding agencies ask about mentor training. Have either of you needed to talk about mentor training either on your research proposal or maybe on for our retention, tenure, and promotion documents? Have you talked about this, and have you felt that this was something useful to add to your file?
I mean, definitely. So one thing the dean recommended was that I start to, enroll in more professional development. He recommended that after I had already expressed interest in the AIM program. I didn't just do it because of him. And then, in my mini review this semester, I talked about the AIM program and other professional development I've done. So in that case, it was helpful. I'm also involved in, I'm a mentor for something called the Metric program, which is an NSF funded sort of mentorship / scholarship program on campus. So it's been helpful for that and other related initiatives.
Yeah, I've included this on proposals that ask about, creating a plan for how students will be involved in the research, and being able to talk about this formal training. I think it's very helpful. And I've also included it in my retention materials as well. I think it's really helpful for that also.
That's great. And like I said, I have noticed that I've started noticing this on funding proposals. So I'm thinking this is the way that we are going. And I think that it's incredibly important to be talking about this wherever we are doing our mentoring. Well, I want to switch it over to some of the questions that are coming through the Q&A. And I'd like everybody to stay on and still chime in for the answers. I will, and Malcolm, this is kind of for you and me, this first one that I see that says, are there any reflective documents to guide the discussion portion? And yes, that manual is complete. It literally does say, leader can share this. Now, of course, you can go off, and if you get a great discussion going, you don't have to do all of the activities, but it is a step-by-step for every module. Again, with activities, if you do this face-to-face, if you meet via Zoom. And Malcolm, you've used the manual, so can you share a little bit about guiding the discussion? And you're muted right now.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so as you mentioned, there are step-by-step guidelines and activities. There are hypothetical scenarios that you could provide. There are segments of the modules that you can draw students' attention to make sure that there is structure. There are activities that would involve chat, or if you prefer to use things like Jamboards, or other technological aids, for online meetings. They have the guidelines are pretty detailed for individuals to follow. If you've participated in the workshop and you have the manual, it makes it easy for you to facilitate a session.
Yes, that's a great point. And you mentioned this before too, but I want to reiterate that to keep this sustainable, so it's not also all only on Malcolm. We are having our alums, our graduates of the program, lead sessions, and they're able to draw from the manual and draw from their experience. And it's worked out really well. So that's been exciting. We have five. We have five faculty members now leading sessions around our campus this semester. So that's great. Okay, we have another question, and this is, would the program be appropriate for helping undergraduate peer mentors develop their mentoring skills? And I mean, I'm going to come out and say probably not. We really do talk a lot about it's balancing all of your commitments as a professor. It's really professor or staff specific, but Carissa and Alex, do you want to take a stab at that one? Do you think an undergraduate taking this program, that this would be a good fit?
I would say they're not the target audience, but there's definitely stuff they can take away from it. The same things we were talking about, like being aware of power differentials and communicating professionally, like laying out expectations formally.
Yeah, like the comprehension checks. I agree, Alex, there's content that would be helpful, but it really isn't targeted to undergraduates. It really does have that aspect of, being toward faculty and staff who are in these different positions and balancing all of our other commitments.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about taking students to conferences. We talk about writing this up for any professional documents. So I do think it's a little bit, well, that's who it was created for. So that was our intent. There are a number of programs out there that really are geared towards trainees though. So they exist, they're out there and they're fantastic. So I do recommend those for trainees. Let's see, we also have a question. Yes, faculty and staff are busier than ever. And I think this actually increases daily. Right now, it feels like we're getting busier every day. Could you please describe the process of recruiting faculty and the incentives used to encourage faculty to participate? So I can start, and then Malcolm also, because you've done recruiting on this. So I just want to say that we have a few incentives. But the first incentive is that we provide stickers. So we have door decals that really, they're really cool decals, and they say, I'm an AIM mentor, and that's to encourage faculty members to put them on their doors. So I mean, I have a vision of students walking around, and every door they know, wow, there's an AIM mentor behind that door. We have lapel pins for our faculty members as well. We have, as a bigger incentive, we have actually had our Office of Economic Research and Development change the forms, change the applications for some internal funding. So if you want to mentor students in the summer and get pay, we have an application. It's a special program. But now you get special status if you're an AIM mentor. So there's a box that faculty can check, and actually they're going to get VIP status in terms of who gets those scholarships, or those fellowships. So that's been an incentive. Right now, with the HERF funding, we have been able to provide stipends for our college specific sessions. That only will be for this year. I would like to point out that the 6 sessions that we ran as pilots, those were all volunteer, and we had no problem filling those sessions. In fact, we had to turn people away. So those are incentives that we use right now. Malcolm, you've recruited faculty without stipends. Do you want to share a little bit?
Sure. And the session that I'm running this fall also was without stipends. The Faculty Center has a list of faculty going through the tenure process, so the who are in a tenure track position. So we simply send out an email saying, hey, here's an opportunity for you to develop your mentoring skills. We summarize the different modules, the expectations, and you say, if you're interested, let us know. And a good number of them contact us and like, hey, this sounds like a great program. I would love to be a part of it. So it's as simple as that.
I mean, that's what Alex and Carissa both said, that there was, I feel like there's a need. We don't get training.
Mhm.
No one takes us aside and says, you know, well, many institutions don't take you aside as a graduate student or a postdoctoral fellow and say, hey, this is how to best mentor. So I feel like there is that need. In addition to, we really talked to faculty who were mid-career or full professors with a lot of experience and said, you know, you have so much to give. You have so much experience. We'd love for you to share in our community. And also they have encountered their share of issues. You know, we all have with our mentees. And so that really invites them to come in, share their experience. They feel good. The community is built, like Malcolm said, everybody is sharing, and it's a really positive thing for our faculty members.
And I was going to add quickly that we also request that the faculty be committed to the dates that we have set for all 6 meetings. So we want a commitment from faculty that they will be able to attend all 6 discussions.
Yeah, and I think that's important for the community building aspect,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because I feel like you kind of get into this shared safe space, and if people are popping in and out, it is less effective. The next one is, how long into the AIM program did you include staff members? Can you provide some examples of programs run by staff? And this one is actually a work in progress. We have had staff complete the program, and we're working right now with our staff council to pull out the episodes and the aspects of the program that are most useful. For example, taking mentees to conferences, not really necessary, but all of the communication, all of the inclusive mentoring aspects, so many of the mentee-centered aspects, and the staff members who have really benefited from this are our advisors. So we have many advisors on campus for a lot of different programs who are staff members, and they seem to be the ones who this really resonates with. And then our last question that I see here is the program appropriate for managing PhD and postdoc mentees as well? And I will be sharing those links at the end. So I'll put out the links to all of the, like, how to enroll, self-enroll, and my email address as well, if you'd like the leader's manual. And Carissa and Alex, I'd love it if you would take this one. You're both coming from R1s more recently. Do you think that this advice would work for graduate students? As a mentor of graduate students, a mentor of postdocs.
I think it would. I think that things are pretty universal. I think perhaps even more so because, you know, PhD students and postdocs are more dedicated, like, they spend more of their time in the program under direct mentorship compared to the master students in my department, which are sort of between classes and TAing and then also my lab. So I think if anything, it would be more applicable.
Absolutely, I agree. I think it would be great for PhD and postdocs. Perfect time to kind of bring that in.
Malcolm, do you want to add anything?
I'm not, just to say that I completely agree, because then that's also going to help make them better prepared for faculty positions when they step into a faculty role and they start mentoring students.
Yes, absolutely, because they can say that they had mentor training. Fantastic. So, Alan, I don't see other questions. Were there any other questions that you had that came in our last 2 minutes?
No, I don't see any other questions that came in. So with this being said, we'll go ahead and close out this webinar. So I want to thank you all for joining us today. On behalf of the CSU Long Beach Center for Evaluation and Educational Effectiveness, I would like to thank our 4 panelists, Drs. Kelly Young, Malcolm Finney, Carissa Miller, and Alice Klutz, for sharing their insights on the CSU Long Beach Build Advancing Inclusive Mentoring Program. Again, everyone who registered for this webinar today will receive an email with information on how to access this recording once it is available. Thank you all again.
And I've just put into the chat a number of things as we're closing out. So there is a link to Enroll. That's the self-enroll program. And there are directions, because it's a little bit tricky, to get into that Canvas page. there is a link, a little bit of a backstory video if you'd like to know how we created it, because we created it with CSULB students in our film and electronic arts department, as well as our students, faculty, and staff across campus. And then we've got a little info link on the page that we share with our faculty members as well. So, and again, please feel free to contact me and contact any of us if you have questions. Thank you.